Yeah, let me know.
Well, we are live, Dustin. This is the Second Opinion. We're a sports medicine podcast, and I'm Dr. Dhokal.
I'm Dr. Glass.
It's a beautiful July day here in Northern California. How is it on your neck of the woods in SoCal, Dustin?
It's a little cloudy, to be honest. Yeah, the last couple of days was a little cloudy. Actually, yesterday we got some little drizzle, little rain, which is out of
Mm,
character. We were surprised about it. We weren't expecting it. So,
yeah,
yeah, kind of like that monsoony, it's warm out,
yeah,
70s, 80s, and we're getting drizzle. So,
yeah.
yeah, but all good. No complaints. We can't complain compared to other parts of the country.
Nah, I forget. It's like, our shout out to Amy who helps us out with our podcast. She's in San Antonio and they had terrible weather, like flooding and this and that. And when she sent me that message, it was 90 some degrees. I was on my way to work, just cooking in my car. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's easy to forget. We kind of had the same type of. I woke up this morning at like 5:45 and went outside, and it was a little bit like Florida muggy. You could
yeah,
smell the
yeah.
rain. It somehow sprinkled overnight, concrete and grass a little wet, but yeah, I don't mind it. I like the little change in temp because it was 104 yesterday on the way to work, and I was feeling a little weak. Like I'm like, oh, like I was off like not very much sleep the last 3 4 days, and was just feeling a little fatigued and was trying to like, did I not drink enough water? Like going through the checklist. So why is my
Yeah.
energy down? I got a busy day today, and then I looked at the temperature gauge, Dustin. It was 104, and I said, well, dude, okay,
Yeah.
I feel better. Like if it's Palm Springs weather, like of
Cooking.
course I'm
Yeah.
feeling like a little zapped out. Like sheesh.
Yeah. You're
So
cooking from the inside out.
yeah, it really did feel, but it made me feel better. At least it wasn't like 88, I was like, why am I like
Yeah,
104? Okay, you're going to be a little drained out.
for
It
sure.
cooled down though. But yeah, dude, it's good to be live back on you with you again. And I had an interesting week with work. I did take a day off, which was unusual and much needed, and then got right back on the horse. And I would like to talk about sleep today or our next podcast because I have some thoughts on that, just some things I'd like to share. But I know you had some interesting patients this week, and I'm excited to talk about your experience with that.
Yeah, so I had yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I had a cheerleader come in and with a concussion.
Mm.
Normally, you think of concussions coming from the flyers and the ones doing all the acrobats and the tricks and everything. This one was actually from the base, and she got a knee to the head.
Ah,
Anyways, took her out pretty good, but anyways, we'll talk more about that case because it was interesting. Yesterday, I did a follow up with her. I ordered a SPECT scan for her through the Amen clinic, and I highly recommend people, if you've had any kind of head trauma, had any kind of concussion, even if if you've had MRI, CTs, anything, and it's showing the brain, no active brain bleed, but you're still not right, or this could be months, years after, and you're still not feeling well. I highly recommend SPECT scans because it's actually going to give you, basically, we're looking at blood flow as far as cognitive type blood flow, where the activity or lack of activity is going in the brain. Anyways, so the images were really interesting. The nice thing about it is one of those things with SPECT scans is that a lot of people are afraid to see what their brain looks like because, again, it's showing blood flow, active blood flow,
hmm.
not like an MRI that shows the vessels, but this is where is the blood flow going during cognitive function or a concentrated study. And so a lot of people are worried to see things on it. And then what we talk about with SPECT scans is like, if you don't know where you're going, you got to measure things, right? Just like an orthopedist is going to look at a knee with an MRI, just
Sure.
like a cardiologist, is going to look at the heart. With the brain, we need to be able to see what's going on. So having that SPECT scan really gave the nice thing about it when I sat down with her and her mom is that we were able to discuss these areas that made sense why she was having trouble with math, right? So that was
Mm.
one specific thing. She had trouble with math and she didn't understand why, just math. And like literally, she's a very good honors AP student and she couldn't even like figure out a math problem, reading, other parts were fine, but the math. So I was able to show her on the brain, on the SPECT scan, where that part of the brain that is part, that,
For that.
yeah, that works with arithmetic, readings type things, that part of the brain was lacking the full amount of oxygen that it could typically get. So, and then we had a plan. That's the whole point of this is that one, you see it, but now you have a plan to help either increase the blood flow with supplements or subdue it a little. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
see
that's
you had.
interesting. A couple of things jumped into my mind. That one question and one a statement. The question is that particular region of the brain for arithmetic. Are you looking at more left hemisphere versus right? Because the left is logical, right is more creative. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. So it breaks it down. The SPECT scan, sorry, let me turn this off. SPECT scan breaks it down into all parts of the brain. So
It's like
we're
frontal
looking, and then
cortex or whatever it is.
yep, the cerebellum, the basal ganglia, all the thalamus, all of that. And
Hmm.
because we know with each one of those regions has a whole host of things it does. So, and we can talk more specifics, anatomy wise on another, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
briefly touch upon that before I got into the other thing I wanted to talk about. But that was an interesting case that was different. And my whole point was to bring up SPECT scans that I think we should go into detail, and maybe we can figure out a way to put some scans on. And a lot of people have never seen what a scan looks like. And
No, I
so,
think that's so valuable because, initially, like many years ago, I think when you had first brought up Dr. Amen and Amen, I'm sorry, and his clinic and what he does, at least my initial reaction was, oh, that's strictly head trauma, concussions, accidents, football players, memory loss, things like that. And then I understood a little bit better after some research and some discussion with you. It could be any number of symptoms. Depression could lead, it could be some brain things going on there that you might be able to reveal through the SPECT scan. It could be, PTSD. It could be, gosh, early Alzheimer's or dementia, in my opinion, where
yep,
that, some of these cognitive issues in the elderly population, people are really into diagnosis. On a side story yesterday, somebody was really interested in like, what is it? What is it? Like, is it this or is it this? And my comment kind of was, does it matter if it has a name? Because like
yeah,
what's happening is A, B, and C, and we don't want A, B, and C to happen. And so who cares what the name is when we already know that we could do these three things that'll counteract these three things to balance it out, So on the diagnosis side with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or any cognitive elderly type of diseases like dementia, oftentimes I wonder, is it just from having a bunch of concussions now you have memory issues, or is it you're eating inflammatory foods, you're not sleeping enough, you're super stressed, you have decreased blood flow in a certain area due to who knows what. It could be
yeah,
an exclusion of something. It could be a dietary thing, any number of things. And now it's not just for concussions. It could be
yeah,
for your parents who aren't as sharp as they used to be. It could be for somebody like me who's had double digit concussions and I think I'm okay,
yeah,
but like how many days of 4 hours of sleep catch up to you, and
100%.
it'd be
Well,
nice
that,
to do a scan today off the last 5 days. I've had 4 nights of 4 hours of sleep and 1 8 hour sleep. So like,
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what that scan looks like today versus after a week in Hawaii and a lot of sleeping in and doing another scan.
yeah,
I promise you it'd be different. So
yeah.
that's powerful. I really appreciate you bringing that up because I feel like it's an under talked about thing as far as something that's preventative that gives you important data.
Yeah, very, really good data, and that's why I'd like to have a whole episode where we talk about it. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll even get somebody from the Amen Clinic to talk, and fill us in even in better detail. But to your point, they even say, listen, we can give you diagnosis and stuff, but to your point, all we're looking at with these brain scans, not all we're looking at, but where's the blood flow going? Is it going there or is it not going there?
Hmm.
If not, what do we have to do to get the blood flow going or to bring it down, right? So so they don't really, you can call it whatever you want. You can label it a bunch of different things, but at the end of the day, it's either too much blood flow or too little blood flow, right? So
Yeah.
and then and like in this concussion, like a temporal lobe injury. So in the medial temporal lobe with her
Mm.
yesterday, she had lack of blood flow. And then on the outer side, on the other side, too much blood flow.
Really?
So very interesting with their scan, but what that told us was the way the concussive forces went, impact, it was like a side to side motion.
Mm.
So it affected, so even though it's the temporal lobe, but now you have two different, so you have to treat it a little differently. If you didn't have the scan, you would be treating it with something you thought, and you're just treating an outlying symptom, but you're not treating it properly. Now we can actually see, and which one's our priority. Do we increase the blood flow or decrease the activity?
Yeah.
So then as a clinician, we get to make that decision, right? And so that's the cool part about it. If you don't have that scan, you have no idea. So, and to your point too, we have a lot of people, a lot of CEO types, a lot of entertainers, a lot of people that just want to be at the top of their game that are
Hmm.
doing scans. So it's not just for, it's just, hey, do you want to optimize your brain? This is what we do. And you need to know what your brain looks like so we can optimize it, right? So it's pretty cool.
We're
Yeah.
in such a great time in life, dude. I mean, if I could wish anything, it might be that I was like a decade younger with the same amount of knowledge.
Yeah.
But like if you're in your mid 20s right now, you're 20, you're 30, like even if you're 65, I was talking to I call her an auntie, but we're
Yeah.
not related, but she's an auntie to me. And she's 65, was telling me about trouble getting up out of the chair. And, we're at like a birthday dinner party with the family and friends. And so, as you know, it doesn't take long for somebody to be like, what do you think about this pinky thing so that's kind of how the discussion started. But I have a lot of love for her and, was just having a conversation around well, what are you doing? And the answer was very little. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, for 65 years, you've done very little and you're wondering why it hurts to sit and hurts to stand. And like, I was just saying, like, we're walking like this, we're sitting like it's all very linear. So, like,
Yeah.
if you're never doing this movement or this movement, how do you expect to ever do it? If you never speak
Yeah.
in Punjabi, how do you expect to be bilingual? If you're never
Yeah.
riding a bike, how do you expect to be able to ride a bike? And so and she's like, well, I think it's too late getting to the point. And I said, it is not too late. Honestly, by the time you're 70, if you do the right 20 minutes a day over the course of 5 years, you're going to feel like you're 55, not
Yeah.
70. And I
Yeah.
really believe that. I wasn't trying to gas her up. And I feel the same way about us. Like, I do have some things. Like, I was doing pull ups the other day and my shoulder hurt after I like slept on it and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's trash. Like, I'm tired of these like little tweaks and aches. And then I thought, okay, what's that telling me? I need to
Yeah.
get more motion in that joint. I need to be a little cautious and maybe not max out or ramp up. So I had all these thoughts of that. And then I thought of, I have red light available in my office. I have the arc wave available in my office. I
Yeah.
could
You have
take
veins. Yeah.
PRP. I could go see my boy Dustin, hop in the hyperbaric chamber.
Mm.
Like there's peptides, like it's all available if you have the knowledge. And I guess maybe the means right now, but I
Yeah.
think we're just in a wonderful time, like to be able
Yeah.
to do a brain scan, see where there's reduced blood flow, be proactive and maybe make a life changing change in somebody
Yeah.
by taking a supplement.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
dude,
That's you just hit it on the head. Like be either proactive or reactive. It's way better to be proactive.
yeah,
Versus an emergency situation where you have to now be reactive and try to figure it out on the fly when emotions are high, right? So it's better to do it
yeah,
in a sober. That's why I tell my patients all the time. To your point with your auntie, like I say, whether you put in the work or don't put in the work, you earn the results, right?
yeah.
So you either, so no complaints. Like you earned what you're feeling right now if you haven't done anything for it, right?
Let
So
me ask you something. Do you feel like people don't know? Because sometimes I feel like I'm not the world's greatest expert on a lot of things, maybe not even anything. But over the course of time, we've learned a lot about health and the body and wellness and longevity and prevention. Do you feel like a lot of people just don't? I mean, it's not really taught. Our medical system is very reactive. Like if you're sick, if something hurts, then go in. What insurance company is doing some proactive stuff? It's like I referred Function Health the other day to a patient who has probably some hormonal and chemical imbalances. I'm like, let's get some testing done. She's like, I had some lab tests done. And I looked at it, standard lab test. It is Swiss cheese, a bunch of holes in that lab test. It tells us some information. It doesn't tell us enough information, not as much as we could get. And
yeah,
so she's going out of pocket and getting these other tests done. That's going to reveal more information. And so do you feel like just people just don't know that there's alternative out there? Or do you feel like it's just so overwhelming when you're 60, you're like, well, now I'm just old
yeah.
and maybe I'm wrong because I feel like 10, 20, 30 minutes a day is all it's going to take to turn it around for most people. Am I
Yeah,
off
no,
on that?
I don't think it's a knowledge thing because I take a quick survey, just go out in front of your local store and
Mm,
ask every single person, hey, what does it take to be healthy? Everybody's going to say diet and exercise. Everybody knows. So what I found that it's like no surprise. Everybody knows diet and exercise is the answer. It's very easy. That solution is very easy to know what to do, right? But what I find, it comes down to commitment, dedication, and discipline. Okay, that's what's going to be the difference between people. That most people don't have the commitment, discipline, or dedication to stick to it. They know what to do, but they haven't figured out how to be committed to it, have the discipline to do it on a regular basis, and then dedicate a lifestyle of doing that forever, right? So those are the
Yeah.
several things that I see are the difference makers. Like, right? Like, so what's going to get somebody off their butt? Like, one of my favorite quotes, people don't, you know, people don't get motivated when they see the light. They get motivated when they feel the heat, right? So,
Mm,
you can have the knowledge, you can see the light, but they don't do anything until they feel the actual heat of it, right? Until you
yeah.
get that diagnosis. Hey, guess what? You got cancer. Shit, now I got to take care of my heart. Hey, you got heart disease. Shit, now I got to. You knew you had to do your diet and exercise for 50 years. Now you're waiting until you got that diagnosis of diabetes or heart disease to now actually freaking do something about it. You felt the heat. The
Here's
doctor
what the
said you're
problem.
going to die if you don't change your ways. Shit, you knew you had the knowledge.
Yeah.
You just didn't have the dedication, discipline, or commitment to do anything about it.
Here's the
So,
thing. I 1000% agree with you, but just knowing human nature now and being in practice for 20 years, I think that's why I have a fire lit under me because I see people every day. Who I'm like, damn, you don't have to be this way. You could have been better if you just did this. So I'm reverse engineering that and being like, well, where do I want to be in 5 years? We had a
yeah,
group
me
chat
too.
yesterday. And one of my cousins said he must have maybe had a drink or two because he finally was like, P's the best athlete out of the group. Like, I'm done playing him. And like it's second place is where like that's all we're competing for anymore. Like he's the top dog. How's he the oldest and still the best? I said it's not. I'm gonna talk myself down. It's not that I'm that great, but really y'all are kind of trash, you know. So like that's where it's not that I'm like an A plus out of a bunch of A's. Like you guys are actually a bunch of C's, and I might be just a B minus, and it's looking like I'm better, you know. So the bar is kind of low for most people, I think, in being able to make a small change that makes a big difference, you know. And when you said the heat, my problem with it is I wish our medical system applied more heat, meaning once a year you go get a DEXA scan, once a year you get a comprehensive lab test, because then human nature is I'm not going to move until I need to. And
Yeah,
so people are moving once they have symptoms and they're sick because that's when they go in. Why can't we apply heat earlier? Why can't we have
right.
some annual testing, something that like in 2024, I'm good. I don't need to diet. I'll still eat some
Yeah,
gummy bears before bed. But 2025, I get some testing. They're like, hey, bro, your blood sugars, here it was in 17 and 18 and 19 and 20. Now I see a trend line. Now I might make a change before I actually have diabetes. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
disagree with you. It's frustrating because we have the
yeah,
tools to light the
yeah. And
fire for the people who need the fire lit, I think, you know?
yeah, and I don't think it's human nature not to disagree with you, but to
No, no,
disagree,
please.
I think it's because I think it's our culture, our American culture. Because
Yes.
I see other cultures that do it exactly what you said.
No,
You
you're right.
know, yeah. So I don't think by design we are like that. I think
By design.
our culture and, like you said, our medical system, I feel, has failed us. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
that's not an uncommon thought process, right? I
No.
think a lot of people are angry, even our insurance companies. It's a broken system,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the answer is, but I do know a lot of people are going away from the traditional medical design in America, and they're seeking out more, holistic, naturopathic ways, a functional medicine like we've talked about,
Yeah.
because they are looking at the whole system. They are being proactive. Where the medical profession, where we've all seen, is more reactive. Come to us when you're having a problem. Well, even turn people away. Hey, you're doing fine right now. Come to me when you start having symptoms.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I had just heard that, like, with a cardiac patient of mine, and they told him, "Hey, we filled in, we gave you 2 stents. You really needed 3. If you start having some symptoms, come back and we'll figure out if we're going to do the third."
Dude,
And so
it is
he's like, he
mind
feels like
boggling.
a ticking time bomb. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I don't know what the answer is. I feel terrible. This guy is so, like, besides himself because he's like, I'm not feeling any better. I still have it. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, how
It's like,
important is the mental too on that side, Dustin? Because if you're stressed or paranoid about something, that's going to make changes in you and you could actually cause an issue even if you don't, just because you think you have one. And
100%.
I don't want to say I know this for a fact, but like, last year when I was really going through just some difficult times, I had a combination of a lot of things, a lot of change, lack of sleep, a lot of stress, losing things and people through death and other means. And it was to the point where I think I mentioned to you, bro, I don't feel good. Like I have like damn near chest pains. Like I'm feeling
Mm,
like I'm in great shape, but am I like on the way to have like some heart condition? You know, my dad has some heart things. So I
Yeah.
went to the doctors and was like, hey, I want to get some testing done. Bro, if I wasn't a doctor and I wasn't, I don't want to say aggressive, but like I was pretty adamant of like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like I will pay out of pocket. Like eventually
Yeah.
it got to like, do I need to break you off like $300 bills right now so you can write the
Yeah.
script? Is this what it's come down to? Like I need to bribe my doctor so I can get the exams that I
Okay.
want, you know? And finally she's like, no, I want to give them to you. I just don't think they're going to approve it. Ran it through, denied, did it again. Anyways, my point just is I had this calcium cardiac thing that I had done and it turned out I had 0%. So I was tripping. But you know the peace of mind that brought me by
Huge.
having that done? Way more than the couple $100 that I had to pay out of pocket for it. But what if something had been there? You know, it'd be like, well, you all didn't want to do anything until what? I like
Yeah.
had an episode, you know,
Yep.
like it's really frustrating. And so I'll say this on the podcast because I said it to a mom yesterday. Her comment was, I always feel bad when I have to push back. And I said, are you pushing back or are you being an advocate for your own health?
Yeah.
Like, is it
Yeah.
really pushing back if you're like, hey, I have a question about my health and you're my health
Yeah. But the
practitioner?
sad
Like,
part is, why does she have to feel like it's pushing back, right? That's
yes,
the
dude.
system made her feel like she's. But you're to your point. You're absolutely right. She's being an advocate for herself. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
It's like if this was a male female relationship in today's terms, he or she would be like, he's gaslighting me. Like, he's
Yeah.
just making me feel attacked. That's exactly what's going on. Your doctor's like, you don't need that. I can't, da 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 da. And, you know, you said you don't know what the answer is. I don't have all the answers either, but if I could snap my fingers, it would be let's add something in the education system about health that
Yeah.
is actual health. I mean, how weird was it that we were in chiropractic school 2000 to 2004 or 2005 in my case, and the things that are mainstream now, like I kind of remember being made fun of a little bit, you
Yeah.
know? Like, oh, you're talking about using red light on a sprained ankle. And this is by like medical professionals that work for teams that I looked up to, you know? And I
Yeah.
remember going back and being like, yo, am I in like some quack school right now? Am I like being taught weird things? Like I had to
Read the Bible. Yeah.
research the thing that I was taught just to make sure I was being taught the right stuff, you know? And it just feels like we're so behind. And the thing that you said about it being not human nature, but like it's kind of our country, bro, that shit's real.
Yeah.
Because we could be teaching better. We could have less processed and dangerous foods. It makes completely no sense that the same factories that make food for other countries make
Right. Yeah.
more toxic and more harmful
I don't get it.
food, and they have additives that we know cause disease. So why are we doing that? To get the public sick? So when you
Yeah.
retire, you just die early, so you're not a drain on the system? Like what? It just seems so short-sighted, and it's I wish we were at the cutting edge and at the forefront of the world with health, you know? So I feel like we should be.
I agree.
Who do you think is, Dustin? If it's not
Well,
us.
I think it's well, I don't know if this is where or what you mean by what do I think it is, but what I think what we always say it's driven by money, right? And that's
Mm,
unfortunately just like what your doctor said, I don't think it's going to be covered. She's letting the insurance company dictate how she
dictate.
practices. Right? And that's what we're a cash practice, both of us. And so what do we always tell our patients? Listen, I'm a cash practice because I don't want the insurance company telling me that I only have 2 visits with you when they have no clue and I have to get pre-approvals every single time to take
Yeah,
care of me. And they're just sitting behind a desk, looking at my notes saying whether you deserve care or not. They're not sitting in front of you. It's not fair. It's not
yeah.
right. So that's why we opted out of the insurance, game. So we can actually take care of our patients the way we feel they should be taken care of. So I believe a lot of this, unfortunately comes down to where does the money go?
It's profits over people.
Yeah, profits over people. Good way to put that. Yeah, which sucks. And so, and then I don't. And I tell like because we both have MD friends, right? And
Yeah,
orthos and I always tell my patients, I'm like, listen, truly, I don't believe these doctors got into it for that reason. They when they were in school, they had a dream and a passion to help people, and then
yeah,
once they got into big corporate hospitals or private practices, they learned real quick that they can't keep their doors open unless they see 8 people an hour
yeah,
to keep their lights on. Now,
yeah,
where's the quality of care just because the insurance company is paying them $15 per office visit, depending on the cover? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That
yeah,
was
yeah.
one of my doctor friends was telling me because he would always be an hour late with everybody. I'm like, bro, why do you keep filling in the schedule like you are? He says, I don't, he's all, I only make whatever it was, $22 every time this, because he had a big Medicare practice.
Yeah.
So it was a little different, but he says on average, I need to see 6 to 8 people or whatever it was. Maybe it was 4 or 5 per hour, but I'm like, man, so he's only, but he refused to only give him 15 minutes. So he would give him half hour and quality care, but it backed up his patients an hour. You would be the first patient after lunch and still be an hour behind. So,
See,
you know,
I really see, and I could be wrong, I see a transition more and more, even in the MD model, because I see it in the Chiro model. I see it in like a PT model even now. And I don't know if we were ahead of it by going cash. I did it for particular reasons. I figured it was going to take me a year of being broke, and I was already broke for a while. But then once I got that wheel going and I had, like a number of people that were committed to their health and they were coming every month on some regular cadence, the wheel kind of grew and it made sense. I could see more and more people getting disgruntled with that model because I don't know many. You're right. Everyone who's a doctor, it is too hard to go through the medical field for any specialty. I don't care if it's PT, chiropractic, acupuncture, MD, any of those. It's above and beyond college. It's a lot of work. Those classes are not easy. And then on top of that, you're paying money. So you're graduating with hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and now you have to make a decision. Do I open my own spot, pay rent, take out a loan to build a place out, buy equipment, and then start with $0, and my first person comes in and I'm making $50? Like, do you know how hard it was to even buy like anything, a car or an engagement ring at $50 a pop?
yeah,
If you're trying to
yeah,
save $40,000 for a car at $50 a pop, you're trying to save 20,000 or 15,000 for a ring at $50. That's different, in my opinion, than working for said company and getting 2 paychecks a month, and you're like, I know what I'm getting every 2 weeks and I'll just put a little bit aside.
yeah,
We're cultivating like farmers, it's like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
going out and not only do you have to have patience, but you got to have the results.
yeah,
Whereas if you're maybe average, go work for the corporate place, knock out numbers. It's not result driven.
hmm,
Your books are already full. But I see more and more MDs maybe opening a private practice like it used to be, for one,
yeah,
for the family unit, two, for the community, and three, monetarily. That doctor who's making $20 a pop, having to see 8 people, that's $160. Like,
yeah,
you could charge a couple $100 per hour for one person. There's people out there that want that individualized care, and I'm seeing them and you're seeing them, like I don't have any 15-minute appointments anymore. I have half
yeah,
hour minimum and hour appointments. Most of them are, it's probably 65% hours and 1/3 30 minutes, and those feel like they go quick.
yeah,
So I don't know how people survive in that other model. And it just,
and feel good about it. And yeah,
it's tough, dude. I'm not super optimistic, I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah,
It makes me worried about our parents. It makes me worried about the population as a whole as we get older. And just like what's going to happen to people who are in their 20s and 30s off of another 30, 40 years of crappy food and now overstimulation from TV, social media, emails. Like, physical health is going to go down, mental health is going to go down. Then where does that leave us as a people?
yeah,
We're not very smart then. We're not very, active, So all these things tie in together, and it's, again, not everybody. There's a segment of the population that I think is all about health and wellness.
right,
It's trendy now, so I love that. But
yeah,
being a medical provider, it is sometimes a little frustrating because I wish the system was better. Like, you
yeah,
and I shouldn't have better answers than the people in charge. And I feel like if you and I were in politics or had some run of California health, I think we could make a little bit of an improvement off
yeah,
what it
yeah,
is now, you know?
yeah. You would
And
hope, right?
who
Yeah,
are we? Like, there's
yeah,
smarter people out there. Please figure it out.
yeah. There's got to be some kind of disconnect why it's not happening. I'm sure it's a challenging ordeal because if it was easy, it'd be changed already. But yeah, it's a problem. But
What happened with your patient who had the SPECT scan? I didn't mean to go off on such a tangent, but so she found that she had some areas that were deficient in blood flow. And so what's the plan? Is it more supplementation? Is it a
yeah,
hyperbaric chamber? Is it hang upside down and get more blood in your head? Like, what is the deal?
yeah, so it's kind of an interesting case because usually when they come into me, I'm the primary
Hmm.
doctor working it from day one. She was referred to me by another chiro, so the chiro, I'm letting the chiro take the lead on that, and I'm pretty much doing hyperbarics only on her. Hyperbarics, LED, PMF, doing the things that he doesn't do. So
Yeah.
he's doing chiropractic and soft tissue. So, in all honesty, that's a little tough to kind of because I just want to get my hands on. I know the results I get, and so, but I trust that. And so I keep following up with her. Hey, is he adjusting? What's he doing? Soft tissue. So we're making sure we follow up. So we were already doing hyperbarics. I was doing the skull cap with the LEDs for her. We were doing that, but the symptoms were just not going exactly. It was just being delayed. It's already going 3 months into this whole thing. So I told her about a month ago, listen, if we're not seeing pretty drastic changes, I want to make sure about SPECT scans and we get this involved. So mom signed up. I didn't even know she was doing it. She kind of called up, got it going, and then we started that process. So yeah, so that's how that kind of went. From day one, I was talking hyperbarics, nutrition, PMF, all the other modalities. I was giving her homework and stretches to get the tension off her neck, get maximum blood flow there. So the difference now, knowing exactly what parts of the brain are, so that's how it changes,
Mhm.
is we sat down. I was able to point out, gave her, the report I get back from Amen Clinics is a 20-page report, very
Mm.
detailed. And so I pretty much summarized it on my own piece of paper of the key highlights. And I told her, listen, this is going to be a working treatment plan. I'm just going to, because it's too overwhelming if I give you everything, but I'm going to tell you the key points right now. These are the places that were deficient. These are the places that were hyperactive. And this is our game plan. So I gave her like 4 or 5 supplements that will help with that. And so that's the key thing right now that we're doing. So,
Dude, you're such a good doctor, bro. Because
yeah.
you could just no, for real, because you could just be, I'm gonna lay you down and level your hips. Your
Mhm.
cervical spine is a little stiff. Let me get some motion in there. And I've done my job, you know? But clearly you care more at a deeper level than just like spinal mobility, you know? And like all these modalities that we do, it's for a reason, you know? It's not to like create an upcharge. It's like these things work and
Yeah.
improve health, you know? And so I just know you're really patient, really thorough how you explain things. And yeah, anyone listening, if you're in the Orange County area, LA area, man, it's not just for like neck and back pain. Like you should really go and explore all these modalities like hyperbaric chamber. I feel like if I was a billionaire and I could gift things to people that I know, hyperbaric,
Yeah.
sauna,
Yeah.
infrared sauna and
100%.
a hyperbaric, bro. Those are two things that you don't even have to do anything. I'm not saying run some miles. I'm not saying push some weight. It's literally
Awesome.
go sit in an infrared sauna. It's going to have health benefits. Sit in a hyperbaric chamber. It's gonna have help. I saw a hyperbaric slash red light chamber, and instead of being prone and supine, you're seated like you're giving blood. It's like a whole little easy chair
Yeah.
and like a phone booth type thing. And it just made me think like, oh, we're evolving a little bit from this tube where you need a doctor and it's like a little bit scary. Like, what are we doing? I gotta be in this thing. I can't breathe. You know, people have a little anxiety with it. And um yeah, it's just really great that you have those and that you can use both those or any of those modalities outside of what a typical chiropractor would do. You're not getting that if you go to the joint. You're not getting that if you go
Right.
to a regular person. And can I ask you a question as far as the hyperbaric goes or as far as
Yep.
supplementation goes? Is there
100%.
something that's clearly known to increase blood flow to the brain in general? Like I'm making it up, like a take a turmeric, take a vitamin D,
Yeah.
or is there like what are the supplementations that Dr. Amen, or in this case specifically for her specific thing? But is there something in general we can tell the public, tell our audience, like, hey, irregardless or regardless of where you're at, this supplement's going to help blood flow to the brain?
Yeah. So blood flow in general, but keeping the inflammation down is key because if you have inflammation going on, it's going to, no matter what you give it, is going to be a barrier to but
Sure.
one of the ones that I suggested to her that does help with that, ginkgo biloba. So just to give you one, that's known to help increase blood flow to the brain. That a lot of people think it's just for memory, right? Well, why does it help with memory?
Right.
Because your blood flow. Well, nobody ever goes that next step of why, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, what I'd like to do is like the next time we have a podcast is do a spec scan thing, and then I'll go through like the parts of brain and the supplements that can help with that. I think that'd be more beneficial.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but L-arginine, L-citrulline, those are kind of things that help global blood flow. Those are ones that I recommend a lot. That helps with blood flow everywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, the best supplement that nobody can argue with is for the brain is the omega-3 fatty acids. And not only so a lot of people don't realize that you could be taking omega, but you need to have the right concentration and the right ratio of omega 3 to 6s and 9s and all that.
Hmm.
So because our diets are so heavy in 6 and 9s, it's really recommended just to take an omega 3 now. It used to be 3, 6, and 9, get the
Gotcha.
whole, but because of all the seed oils and all these different oils that are in almost all the processed foods and stuff that the standard American diet has, they're recommending, hey, if you actually take too much of those, it actually becomes inflammatory and toxic.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is just the omega 3s, but it's an essential fatty acid. It's the fatty acid your brain needs but does not make. So we need that for our brain. So omega 3s, and you want it at a higher concentration. You want to look at the total omega 3s, and then you want to look at the EP and the DHA underneath of it and make sure those two numbers minimally equal 50% of the total.
Mm.
That's minimum to make sure it's not toxic or inflammatory. I like to get a ratio closer to 80 to 90 to 100% for inflammatory and for brain health. So when you're looking at your label on there and look at those three numbers,
It's that
and
ratio.
that's a quick, easy one, because a lot of people go to Costco, a lot of people go to Walmart and get their, you can still go there. Just make sure you're looking at the label, make sure you're not wasting your money or getting something that's actually causing inflammation. Because to keep the
Yeah.
cost down, they take the ratio down, right? So then you're actually inflaming your system at that point, and a lot of people don't realize that. It's kind of sad. So you can go to Trader Joe's, and their Trader Joe's brand is a 50%er, which, like I said, at least it's not inflammatory and it
Mhm.
keeps the cost down and it's pretty good quality. So a bare minimum, I would do like a Trader Joe's, but
So that's
we.
helpful even in itself because what you just described, I got, but I was like tracking what you said. And so
Mhm.
for somebody who's not versed in it, that could be very confusing. Like, I got to do what and check the ratio. And so for you to say, I know the Trader Joe's brand is at least at a bare minimum effective, I think that's helpful for the average listener to be like, okay, I need to take this. This is helpful. Let me go take care of that. But yeah, I think it's valuable that we just have a whole pod on maybe the SPECT scan in particular, and maybe a whole different one on just some easy supplements
Yeah.
for everybody in general. Like if you have a particular type of issue, of course you have some nuances, but if we're talking about how many people I know don't take anything? I'd say the majority of people don't take anything. I'd say in my population group, I'd say it feels like 80% of people don't take any supplements, any multivitamin, like zero, bro, zero.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah, I know. You should see yeah, good for you, man.
I
Yeah,
mean,
let's
this is
remember.
sick, you know?
Yeah, good for you.
So, and this isn't something I've always done either, by the way, people. This started with like, I think I just need to take a little creatine because I'm working out. Then it was like, I think I need to take a little NAD. Then it was like, I think I should take some turmeric. Then it was, oh, I'm going to take this other supplement that's good for longevity and good for my mitochondria. And so if you would have told me I was going to be taking 12 or something pills a day and have this, I'd be like, I don't even like swallowing pills.
Yeah,
But you know what I do like? Is feeling better. You know what I do like
yeah,
is beating my cousin at 50 when he's 30 something. You know what I do like is being able to ski when I'm 60,
yeah.
golf when I'm 80, go to the islands with my boy Dustin at 90 and record a podcast from a Maui beach,
There we
you know?
go. Let's do
Like,
it. Hey, listen, people listening, this is somebody that's very educated, right? So I don't understand why people don't listen to educated people. Like I would look at you and be like, if I didn't know any better, I'm like, man, he knows something I don't, so I'm going to emulate that, right? Even if I don't understand it,
yeah,
but I know it's healthy and it's not unethical, immoral, or illegal. Let me try it. And I always tell people, give it 3 months, the minimum 3 months, and then you can make your own decision. But when somebody's
yeah,
more educated than you and is doing and living a life that you emulate or like, emulate that. And yeah, you don't have to understand or know everything to do that.
no, it's
I
so,
think people get in their own way and be like, well, it doesn't make sense to me, so I'm not going to. Well, okay, I understand that, but then get educated or listen to somebody that is educated and trust the process.
that's so true. That just hit so home. I think, well, at least for me and probably for a lot of people, because how often do we not know about something when we trust other people? Who
Yeah,
knows about root canals or cavities? But you go into the dentist and they're like, you have a root canal. Are you like,
yeah,
let me see that? I mean, they show
yeah,
you an X-ray, but who's
yeah,
looking at the X-ray and knows how to? You're like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Like, I guess pull out my tooth, doctor.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know? you don't
Yeah.
understand what the heck but God forbid you're like, hey, your spine is stiff. You get a bunch of pushback or you should take this supplement. You take your
Yeah. I don't
car in.
believe in chiropractic or, yeah. Yeah.
You
And they
you
say, I
take
don't
the
believe in
sticker in and you're
chiropractic.
not a mechanic, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you need an air filter and a new belt," and you're like, "Well, I guess I do." So it's
Yeah.
funny that people want to be
It's
experts and
ironic.
push back on their health, but on
Yeah.
like anything else,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had less pushback on a podcast mic this morning when you were telling me about a podcast mic, right? I'm like, "Oh, it's good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna get it." I would be like, well, what are the specs on it? Is it
Yeah.
wireless? Is it blah, 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 blah? But that's what people do when it comes to their own health, and I don't know why. Why is that, people? Why do you guys do that?
Yeah. Hey, comment. Let's comment. Let's
Yeah,
tell us
I'm
why you do
curious.
this. Yeah.
Well,
But anyway, well,
let's uh let's wrap today up because we have another episode coming up. And I guess my last thought on this, Dustin, I want to hear your kind of summary on it is just that I would encourage everyone to take an hour. I was going to say a minute, but I think it's worth dedicating an hour sometime this week and just do a little health assessment. Where are you mentally? Where are you physically? And ask yourself, are you taking any supplements? Are you doing anything? Are you not doing something that you think could help you feel better? Because I think sometimes we don't take time to pause and just be like, you know what? I actually haven't sweat in 2 weeks. Might be good for me to like do something that causes my heart rate to increase in sweat?
yeah.
And so I just encourage everyone to take a little self-reflection, a little 1 hour during the week and be like, where am I on this health journey? Where do I want to be? Am I happy as a mom and I can't bend over and pick up my kid? Am I happy as a 60-year-old man who has trouble now getting up out of a chair? Am I happy as a 25-year-old person who can't bench press their weight? Like where are you at and what are your goals? I'd encourage people to reflect on that because wherever it is you want to be, you can get there. We're in
Yeah.
2026, you can get there. If you're overweight, you can lose weight. If you're weak, you can get strong. If you're stiff, you can get mobile. If you're sick, you can get well. So
Yeah. Point. Yeah. Do an internal audit of yourself. Do a
internal
self
audit.
audit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Anyways, any takeaways from today's podcast for you, Dustin? Any thoughts?
No, I think we hit upon a few little tidbits that hopefully people can kind of at least get their thought process going. Again, we would love to hear people's opinions, and I know it's just little teasers of things, but we can go into more detail, obviously, and we want to go into more detail. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. Dustin and I were talking about prioritizing comments and prioritizing people's questions over our set agenda. Like we have our agenda kind of marked out for every pod between now and the end of the year on our topics and subjects, and our patient cases vary. The sports things that happen in current events vary. But, if there's comments out there or people want questions about a certain thing, we're going to prioritize that and we can address that sooner versus waiting till it comes up in our queue. So yeah, I encourage you guys to leave some comments or share this with somebody new. If you're listening and you enjoyed this, we appreciate the participation. This is not just a Dustin and Pawen conversation. We're having this conversation acting like, there's thousands of people that are listening and hopefully we're educating like we would if we were teaching in a class. So class is over for today. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Nobody fell asleep. Hopefully people learned some stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really appreciative of anyone who's listening and that we have this platform to be able to connect as friends and as medical professionals, help each other be better doctors, but also help other people too. So
All
I'm
said.
appreciative of your time and appreciative of everyone listening.
You too, brother.
Right on, Dustin. Well, I know you got a busy day ahead, and man, I'm grateful that we got to do this. That's kind of
Yeah.
my feeling on it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for
Thank
everybody
you.
listening. This is the Second Opinion. We're a sports medicine podcast. I'm Dr. Dhokal.
I'm Dr. Glass.
And gang, we will be back soon. Appreciate you guys. We love you. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great
Yeah.
day.